distances guidelines in place at Town Hall. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are A, to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video means. We're using the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the council have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the Zoom platform. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 646-558-8656, access code 911-702-5727, or by clicking on this following website address: https://zoom.us/j/9117-025727. It is also being streamed live on the town website as well as Channel 13 locally. We are providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public on how to access this meeting using Zoom, and the instructions are provided on the Town of Newmarket's website at newmarketnh.gov. We provided a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there's a problem with the access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-659-3617, extension 1321. And if there is a problem, we adjourn the meeting if they are unable to access the meeting, and we'll reschedule it for a different time. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. For the public, please follow the following 4 guidelines during this meeting. In an effort to minimize background noise, we ask that all members of the public keep their microphones muted and are encouraged to stay on mute when not speaking during the meeting. Additionally, we ask members of the public to turn off their video camera or webcam unless they intend to speak during the meeting. This will help optimize the available network bandwidth for the meeting. For members of the public wishing to speak the public comment portion of the meeting, please press *9 on your phone to raise your hand, or press Alt-Y on your computer keyboard, or tap the raise hand button on your tablet. We will see your hand and prompt you to make your comment. It is requested that no public comment be longer than 3 minutes. This is a public meeting. If any member of the public causes a disruption to the meeting that would not allow the meeting to continue, we will request the chair temporarily recess this meeting so the disruption may be addressed. We will then inform the chair that the meeting may continue. If the board is unable to continue the meeting due to this disruption, the chair may elect to suspend the meeting to a later date and time to be noticed in accordance with state law. Once again, this meeting is being recorded. Following the meeting, a copy of the recording is available at newmarketnh.gov. And we will now take roll call attendance, which each member states where they are. Also, please state whether there is anybody in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law.
Councilor Dumont?
Present.
Councilor Sanders?
Present and alone.
Councilor Blackstone?
Councilor Blackstone, you need to unmute.
Present and alone.
Councilor Braybeck?
Present and alone.
Councilor Kuiper?
Present and alone.
Lee?
Present and alone.
Councilor Weinstein?
Present. Thank you. And now we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Meeting this evening is our organizational meeting, so and that's the election of officers, the adoption of the town council rules, and then we'll be talking about committee assignments. So I'm going to turn that over to you to get started, or how do we want to?
So typically what we do is if there's more than one candidate for council chair, we will call the roll, and if one individual receives a majority, then that individual will serve as chair. If there's 3 candidates and nobody receives a majority, the lowest vote getter will be taken off, and then we'll vote again on the top 2 until somebody gets a majority. If there's only one nomination, we'll just have one vote and go from there. So you can just ask for nominations for chair.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know if that was appropriate or not. Then I will open the floor for nominations for chair. Councilor Dumont.
First, I'm pushing my request to speak button, and it wasn't going through on my end. So I'm not sure if they're having that trouble.
Yeah, I've got it.
Councilor Sanders just came through.
I'll reload my webpage then. But I would like to nominate Tony Weinstein for chair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
You need to unmute,
Second.
Counselor.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you.
Any further nominations?
I'm just trying, you were just,
Yep, I just was testing it.
Right. Are there any other nominations for chair? I'm seeing none. So, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Dumont?
Aye.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Counselor, you're muted.
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that vote of confidence. I hope I can live up to it. So, we will move on now to election of vice chair. And are there any nominations for vice chair? Counselor Sanders.
I'd like to nominate Zachary Dumont for vice chair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? I am seeing none. So with that, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Dumont?
I'll abstain.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Madam Chair, we seem to be having an issue. Can all the councilors hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If you froze for a second. Okay.
Counselor Blackstone?
You're on mute, Counselor.
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein? Motion passes 6-0-1.
Thank you, folks.
The next item is the adoption of the town council rules for 2021 and 2022. And so I would start with a motion to accept those rules, and then if there are any changes or concerns or questions, we'll move on from there. So if someone could make a motion to approve the town council rules for proceedings.
I'll make a motion to approve the town council rules for 2021 council proceedings.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Councilor Sanders? I couldn't tell.
Sorry, that's me.
Oh, sorry.
Counselor Brady.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
There are two small errors in the council rules. First, between the time that they were adopted last time and we actually met, the title of the town administrator is changed to town manager, so that will have to be a Scrivener's error and fixed in the rules. In addition, the council amended the rules last year or year before, to limit comments by visitors to 3 minutes from 5 minutes. And that's, it's still reflected as 5 in there. So those two things will be changed.
Thank you. Were there any other questions or comments or changes that people thought were appropriate? Councilor Dumont.
I just had a quick question. Sorry. I saw in here that our meetings are scheduled to conclude at 10. In the past 2 years or so, have we had many meetings go till 10 o'clock or even come close?
Nope.
No, not
I
even.
could tell you when I first started, we did. And it's good rule of thumb to put a deadline on meetings so you focus. And to be honest, if you're here past 2 to 3 hours, the council itself stops paying attention. So that's usually why.
I wasn't sure if it made sense to bring it down to 9 p.m. because and the reason why I asked was because I had no recollection of us really having any significant meetings that went that long.
That's
Do you want to? Well, I guess we don't need a motion, do we?
yeah, you should.
Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to let me first find it. But I'd like to make a motion to reduce the council meeting time to be 9 p.m. instead of 10 p.m.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or thoughts about that? Counselor Kuiper,
Sorry.
did you?
Pressing the button, I don't know if it's working.
It's not working.
Okay. We would still, I think, be able to vote to extend the time past 9 if we needed to, right?
You would. It takes a 2/3 vote of the council, so basically you're suspending the rules to
Okay.
go past 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Counselor Dumont, did you
Yeah,
wanna?
I just wanted to clarify, so there are, I think, 3 spots that I would change that. It's gonna be in the, first paragraph under the first section, council meetings, if folks are looking for it. So it would read, the public portions of the council meeting shall end by 9 PM, so on to the next mention of 10, and then after that, the third mention.
I mean, I can't imagine, I'm not seeing any other requests to speak. If, I don't know if the buttons are working for everyone, so you can also use the raise hand feature on Zoom if that's helpful. And I'll try to remember to look at the screen. I mean, I can't imagine it's gonna be an issue. We can, as stated before, we can always, vote to go past 9 o'clock. In years, we haven't gone o'clock. So, I can't imagine that it'll be a problem. Then if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Dumont?
Aye.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
So moving on, are there any other, because that was just for, that one amendment. So were there any other questions or changes that people wanted to make? Again, I'm seeing none, so, then if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Dumont?
Aye.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next item that we have are committee assignments, and the current assignments were included in the packet. We kind of have just gone through this a couple of times pretty recently because we had some new counselors. So if there are any burning questions or changes that people want to see, if they have, I don't know. So
We do have former Councilor Burns on the CIP committee. That's always a good committee for a new counselor to learn the operations of the town, because you actually meet with each department to see what their long-term plans are. I don't want to volunteer a counselor who may be new, but that's always a good one to start with.
I agree, and another item that I would just put out there is if anybody was interested in being the rep to the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee, I've certainly served on that committee since it was first organized, and would be happy to step aside if someone had, again, a burning desire to be on the Energy and Environment Committee. They're doing a lot of great work. So just wanted to throw that out there. Counselor Brayback.
Thank you. I was also going to say, in reviewing this, I saw, I'm currently on 3 committees and an alternate on one. So I'm happy to continue to do so. They're all great things that are interesting. But if anyone was interested, particularly in the Conservation Commission, I would be open to someone else stepping in there.
You are in a lot of committees. How have we done this in the past? Have we
Usually we just go through
Okay.
and see if anybody is, if they ask the council if they're still interested in serving.
Okay.
And if they're not, find somebody else.
I am gonna make a list of the openings.
I've-
Are
You want me to go through?
doing that?
I've got them if you want me to start. I've got the one there's only one opening.
Okay.
And because of the changing.
Oh, so you don't wanna go through each
Yeah,
individual?
we could.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. It's like if you say we have highway safety, Councilor Kuiper's on there.
Right.
Yep.
okay. So I'll go through one by one. So highway safety is Counselor Kuiper. Are you interested in staying on that committee?
Yes, I'm very happy on the highway safety
Yeah.
committee.
It meets quite often.
The workload is immense, but I think I can handle it.
The budget committee, we have Zachary, Counselor Dumont,
I'm
and
satisfied.
Counselor Braybeck as the alternate. Okay. Energy and Environment Advisory Committee is currently myself, and if anyone is interested, as mentioned, I would be happy to turn that over.
Don't see anybody
Are
jumping.
you
Yeah,
looking
no.
for anybody to replace you? Or?
Trying. CIP, so that was listed as Amy Burns, so there is an opening there, and Counselor Kuiper is the alternate.
Council, I'd be happy to step into that position.
Wonderful. I agree, that does give you a really good overview of what's happening and the projects that are happening in the community. And Counselor Kuiper as the alternate?
I'm fine with being in it. Yeah.
So Conservation Commission, again, Counselor Braybeck mentioned that if there's anybody else interested in that, she'd probably prefer to limit her load a little bit. It does seem a little lopsided.
Unfortunately, Councillor Brayback, I don't think that would be a good role for
Yeah.
me.
On the Conservation Commission.
That's true. However, if you wanted to serve on the Energy and Environment Committee, I would throw that out there. So we have two sort of openings, sort of.
Tony, for energy and environment, is that a decision that we have to make this evening and we're done? Is that something that we could, I could have a conversation about and then we could take it up next time?
Absolutely. Yep. Right, because I can let you know what it entails. I mean, some of these, especially as a new counselor, you may be unfamiliar with the workings of the committee and and the responsibilities that are involved. So we do not have to make final decisions this evening.
Okay.
Economic development, and economic, I guess, do we have an economic development committee?
No, it's more of a liaison to the business
Oh, okay.
business association.
So that's Counselor
Yeah.
Sanders.
Yes, I would like to continue on that. I have been going to the monthly meetings of the NBA and serving as a liaison between the businesses and the town. So I would continue that.
Thank you for maintaining that relationship. I think it's a really important one.
Absolutely.
Planning board is Counselor Blackstone.
Yep, I'm happy to keep doing it.
Great. And I am the alternate. The Riverfront Advisory, Counselor Braybeck.
Yeah,
Good.
that's fine, great. I would like to see him.
And the Arts and Tourism, Counselor Sanders.
I would like to continue with that. And we need another member. We need one more person from the public.
Okay. The Ordinance Oversight Committee is Counselor Braybeck, myself, and Counselor Dumont.
I like it here.
Counselor Braybeck.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And I'm happy with that too. And then the Parking Commission, Counselor Kuiper.
Yeah, I'd like to stay there if that's good.
Okay. So we have two that are kind of up in the air that we can continue to have a conversation about, but obviously they will need to be filled. So maybe we continue the conversation offline if they are interested or want to know more
At the next
information.
meeting, not offline.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
if they want to know, so, yeah. But if they need more information about what the positions entails, they could contact Councilor Baybeck about the Conservation Commission, certainly contact the town manager, contact myself about the Energy and Environment Committee, and then we'll go through it at the next meeting. So until then, if everyone can attend their meetings as scheduled, and then we'll discuss this in 2 weeks. Is that comfortable for everyone? Great. All right. Moving on. Public forum. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak this evening? I am seeing none. So I will close public forum at 7:21. Next we have the minutes, and we have minutes from March 17th, 2021, our regular meeting minutes, and I would accept a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the March 17th meeting.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I am seeing none. Councilor Braybeck, was this old from before? Did you have a request to speak?
No, that's all.
Thank you. So I'm seeing none, so if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Dumont?
Aye.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. And next we have the town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I do my report, would you like to make a presentation?
I would like to make a presentation. So, it's customary that when a counselor steps off the board, that we present them with a clock. And at our last meeting, Counselor Burns, or former Counselor Burns now, was here via Zoom, and so she's here this evening. And as I said then, and I'll say it again, it's been an absolute pleasure to serve you for 6 years, and so I appreciate all the work that you've done for the town, and I know that everyone else has also, and you've done a lot of work here in Newmarket, and given a lot of your time. So with that, it's very fitting that we present you with this clock and your nameplate, and I just want to say thank you. Oh, I don't know where my mask is. Here,
You want me to? I can do it. Yep.
where my mask is.
Thank you.
Did you want to say anything? I'll put you on the spot.
I'll just keep it brief. I just want to say thank you for the community and all the counselors and everything. It's really been an honor to serve as a counselor, and I've really enjoyed it over the last 6 years. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you want to continue with the report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, too, would like to thank Councilor Burns for her service. She's been, it's been great to work with her the last 6 years. She's been great for myself, as also all staff for the town. It's been really a pleasure to work with you, and wish you the best. I do want to warn the council, we seem to be having some internet issues. I'm getting some glitches here. If that happens, We will have to adjourn the meeting to another time set. The chair will make that announcement if we go down, and we'll let the council know what happens in that situation. But it seems like we're having some internet issues. We'll just try to plow through this as quick as possible. First is a COVID-19 update. As of March 31st, the town of Newmarket had 16, or 0.2% of the population, with active cases, and 465, or 5% of the population, cumulative cases. Of these cases, 14% were in an institutional setting. Excuse me. Not time to cough. We saw a brief increase in the cases immediately following the February vacation spring break, which we also saw statewide. We are now back to somewhat normal levels. And an update on the vaccination. As of April 1st, 439,304 people in New Hampshire have received their first dose of the vaccination, and 227,732, or 16.4%, are fully vaccinated. The state has opened vaccination to every adult on April 2nd, which is actually 16 and above, depending on the vaccine. And today it was announced that New Hampshire is #1 in distribution of the vaccine nationwide. We're getting it out the fastest, and so it's going very well. As you know, we held a vaccination clinic for the school district on March 19th. The second dose will be given out on April 9th, this Friday. We're also working with Lamprey Healthcare to help an underserved community by holding a special clinic for our Laotian community on April 15th at the Breach Street Center. So that will be a special one just for our Laotian community. Now, on to other items. HB 111. The House Judiciary Committee recently sent to the full House HB 111 by a vote of 19-2. This bill is very concerning to municipalities because this bill eliminates all sovereign and municipal immunity and implicitly repeals the limits on state and municipal liability for damages. It would subject countless municipal officials and employees to lawsuits for good faith decisions made in the reasonable exercise of their discretion. Under existing law, municipalities and their officials and employees are subject to liability for both negligent and intentional misconduct, but subject to various limitations and immunities. This cause of action for injury caused by an agent of the state of New Hampshire or political subdivision, which are municipalities, in violation of a right under the laws or Constitution of the United States of New Hampshire or the United States. In such an action, the court shall not be impeded by invocation of a state agent's defense or immunity. This bill expressly supersedes all defenses and immunities contained in any other statute. So what's this mean? For an example, a police officer arrests someone for violating a state law. The officer does everything exactly right, and the person clearly violated the statute. But the Supreme Court rules that the statute, which the legislature passed, so your state reps and your senator, is unconstitutional because it violates the arrestee's rights. Under HB 111, although the arresting officer did everything right with the laws on the books, he or she is subject to liability. This will not only affect police officers, but any municipal employee or official, the town manager, a town councilor, a building inspector, the recreation director, who might innocently take an action that is subsequently determined to have violated someone's rights. In the past, some legislators have asked why municipalities should benefit from immunities that are not available to private businesses. The answer, as stated above, is that municipalities perform services that no private business would touch. We provide police and fire protection, build and maintain roads, we dispose of trash, we protect public health, we provide ambulance service, we inspect buildings and run recreation programs, to name a few. But this bill does not merely eliminate immunities and subject municipalities to the same rules as private businesses. It goes further by depriving them of the defenses that are available to other defendants and requiring them to pay the plaintiff's attorney fees and litigation costs, a burden that almost never placed on private defendants. The consequences of this legislation, it will be extreme. Police departments have already had trouble recruiting new officers, and we have trouble finding people who serve in all kinds of positions. We hear it all the time with boards. The prospect of being sued for every error in judgment or innocent mistake will exacerbate these problems. Litigation insurance costs will rise, bringing property tax rates with them. Finally, municipalities may decide it's just not worth it, and we may not provide certain services. We do not have to legally provide police protection. We do not have to provide recreation programs. We do not have to provide fire protection. And if this goes, that's the extreme, but those are things that we would have to look at if we'd be continuously subject to lawsuits. And I would state I was dismayed that a member of our legislative delegation, Criminal Justice Committee, and went forward with this. It's going to be in front of the House this week. If anybody in the legislative delegation is watching this meeting, I would encourage you to vote this down. We're a room of municipal officials that are very, very concerned on this matter. That we would be afraid to make decisions because we would be personally liable for something that we thought was correct, but we had no control over. Okay, now next item. Goal setting session. The last few years, we've had a representative from Primex come in and assist the council with annual goal setting sessions. Just wanted to see if the council wanted to do this again. As everybody knows, our goal setting session, I think, happened the first or second meeting after the pandemic broke out. So we thought it was going to be the 2 weeks, but of course it's been a year. So a lot of the goals, while we've been working on them, may not be as fleshed out as they would have been in the past. We could have another session and see if we want to update them, or we could just review them and update them ourselves. What's the wish of the council?
Any thoughts, any comments? Councilor Dumont?
I think that the Primex session is helpful when you can have a group of people together to bounce ideas off of one another. I think if we try to fit it into our requirements that we have to have right now, it may be burdensome for us to actually get the full benefit of the experience. Not to say that I don't want them here, but it might be for the time being easier for us to just review what we have, maybe take a couple ideas internally and bring them back that way. Unless there's a way that we can do this where we get the...
I actually will say that we were the guinea pig for hosting it virtually. Primex thought we did it very well, and they used it further on. So that's not an issue on this side.
It's good to know that it worked that
Yeah,
way.
it did work.
Any other thoughts? Any other comments? Councilor Blackstone?
Yeah, I personally think that it would be helpful. When I'm a member of the planning board, as we discussed, and when you're talking about planning, I think it's very helpful for me to communicate to the planning board what the goals of the town are. So, for instance, we give up a Class 6 road to get 42 housing units on on Percy Lane. That's a goal of the town council, because we're looking to increase the population within Newmarket, because that's the goal we have, which is to, town grow, as per Steve's consultants. And so I think if we had a unified goal, it would be helpful to express that to the various committees so they could look at things with respect to what the goals are.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Kuiper?
I thought it was a really helpful exercise with them. I thought virtual and in person were both pretty helpful. I wonder if maybe we could, put it off a little bit in hopes that maybe we can do it in person, end of May or something, I don't know, June. Once we're all vaccinated.
Right. Councilor Conley?
I just had a quick question. Do we have any sense of when we might be returning to full in-person meetings so that we'd be able to do this in person? I know I'll be vaccinated here, my second vaccine this week, so I'll be able to return at the next meeting.
Well, we don't have a hard and fast date, but I think everyone will everyone who wants to be vaccinated will be vaccinated by Friday, and so in full effect 2 weeks after that, and we're definitely have put as many safeguards in place as possible. So, including we don't have them up now because it's just the three of us, but we have plexiglass shields that will go in between each counselor. We, whenever social distancing isn't an option, we wear masks. We are socially distant. There's also, because we have a relatively new HVAC system, the air circulates at a greater rate than it would otherwise. So I think that there's, the executive order from the governor still stands, and so we still have the ability to meet via Zoom, but I don't know that that's going to last for forever. And as we have seen that, sometimes the governor can, with schools being in person, for 5 days a week, it can kind of come out of the blue. So I think we definitely need to be prepared to meet in person. I also strongly, strongly believe that it is more effective to be in person. I've always thought that. I thought that when I was a spectator watching meetings. I find that seeing how people interact with each other, it says a lot about what's happening, and having that ability to have a conversation, or to catch somebody on the side and just get work done. I just think it's easier to be in person. That said, I understand that there are people who are caring for loved ones, who themselves may be compromised, or are caring for a loved one who may be compromised. And obviously, we would make every accommodation for that. But the Zoom platform, it definitely won't continue for forever. So we need to be prepared. So long story, long answer for a quick question. We don't have a date, but the goal is to get counselors back in person as soon as we can. If that helps.
Yep.
Is that accurate? So, back to the goals.
Okay. So we will I'll ask Primex to come to see what they can do to schedule something.
It does sound like that's kind of the consensus, that we do want to meet with Primex, and we can check and see what their availability is, because in person would probably be better. I thought the Zoom was effective, but again, I always think it's better in person. So.
And as I look, I didn't take this in consideration either. 3 counselors weren't here during that goal-setting session, so.
I think I joined late on that one.
Right, it was because two new ones.
Yeah.
And then plus Counselor Conley. So.
Yeah.
I'll get in touch. Okay. So back to my report. I did receive a letter from UNH that at the end of the academic year 2022, they will be terminating service for Wildcat Transit to Newmarket. There's been a substantial decrease in the ridership. In fiscal year 12, they had approximately 70,000 riders a year. In fiscal year 19, they had 15,000. And this was prior to the pandemic. This is showing the change in demographics of our community from a place where students would live off campus to a place where people are finding their first homes after college. They did hold a virtual public hearing on April 5th, and they're currently holding one now. Yesterday, I'm sorry. So that's where we are. If I get any more information, I'll let the council know. And finally, it's truly with mixed emotions that I must inform that Chief Kyle True has submitted to me his intent to retire effective May 29th. I had a conversation with him, and after discussions with his family, he felt time was right. He had been planning on doing so for some time. However, the pandemic, he decided to stay on longer, and I personally appreciate that immensely. He and I have been discussing that this day would eventually come. I congratulate him on achieving this. He has dedicated his life to law enforcement, and he deserves his time. He's done an enormous amount for this community, and personally, I'll miss his wise advice. We are working on a transition period, and I'll be advertising for the position shortly. Pursuant to the town charter, it's the town manager's appointment with confirmation by the town council. Chief True has requested this evening to address the council, so I'm yielding the floor to him.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me who's on Zoom? Thank you for having me tonight. It is with mixed emotions that I did submit my letter of intent to retire effective the end of May. I want you to all know that there is no single one factor that comes into my mind for my decision. It isn't the pandemic. It isn't the social unrest. It isn't the. We had a hell of a year with the pandemic and with the social unrest, and I did not. None of that affected me. I've never run from adversity. I'm always up for a challenge. It is just time for me to focus on my family, who they've sacrificed a lot. All of our police officers' families sacrifice a lot, and I plan on spending time with them, and eventually joining the private sector and stepping away from government a little bit. I didn't know what to say tonight, and so I spent the day writing some notes down, and as you were getting ready for your meeting, I was still writing notes down. And I wanted to talk a little bit about public safety before I say goodbye. And they always say that when things are going well, give credit where credit is due. Things are going bad, take responsibility for it and own it. And I think this community, public safety, is doing very well. And it's a team effort, and it's not just the police officers. I could stay up here all night and brag about the police officers. They do a fantastic job, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. They came to work every day. Some of them got sick with COVID. Some of their family members got sick with COVID. But they came to work every day, and they dedicated themselves to serving this community. Last night we had 2 police officers who ran into a fire and fought a fire with a fire extinguisher until our fire department could show up. There isn't a training session in the police academy where we learn to run into fires. It's just gut instinct, and it's heart, and it's doing the right thing. And your police department is filled with officers with that heart and with that mindset, and you're very fortunate to have them. So I want to give credit where credit is due in this team effort. It's not just the police department. It's having a competent fire department and fire chief who ensures training and accountability for the firefighters to ensure they have equipment, to ensure that they are able to provide naloxone or Narcan to people who are struggling with substance disorders. It's the DPW crew who provides public safety, who keeps your streets free of debris. They plow your roads, they plow your sidewalks, sometimes upwards of 24 hours at a time without any sleep. They are part of public safety. It's your water department. We take the water department for granted sometimes, but we all depend on clean drinking water. That's public safety. In the back of the room, and you have a competent water department head who has been recognized throughout the state, and he's been in magazines, and they have a fantastic crew. That's public safety. It's the clerk's office. A friend of mine and I were talking yesterday that Donna Dougal is the face of the town for some people, and Terry Littlefield. They're tasked with ensuring that our citizens have a safe place to vote every year. And it's been challenging this past year for them, but they did a fantastic job keeping the polls safe. Their public safety. It's the recreation department. It's Amy Gigante, who is providing a safe environment for kids, especially during the pandemic. She has kids in the recreation department who are remote. She ensures a safe place for these kids to play. She ensures a safe environment, a safe playground, activities for the kids in the summertime. That's public safety. It's Kim Tilton at the Sunrise Center. Kim Tilton is a part of public safety. She provides an environment for our seniors to exercise both their bodies and their brains, keep their minds sharp, and also stay socially with their friends and with their loved ones. That's public safety. It's code enforcement. It's Mike Hoffman, who's making sure that our new construction is in compliance with state law and regulations to ensure that hazardous construction is not erected. That's public safety. It's the welfare department. It's Sue Jordan, who is in the welfare department, who meets with people who are down on their luck, who struggle with housing and struggle with food for their children. We don't hear a lot about what happens in the welfare department, but that's public safety. It's the school department. It's forging a relationship with the school department to ensure a safe learning environment for our students to learn and our teachers to teach. It's our school resource officers working hand in hand with the teachers to ensure that they know what to do in an active incident. It's building trust between the police and the students. That's public safety. It's the town bodies, it's the town council, and it's the budget committee that is public safety. You're volunteers. You work a lot of hours on these committees, and you listen to myself and Rick Molaski and Sean and Amy. You don't get paid a lot of money to do this, but you listen to us and you trust us. You challenge us and you hold us accountable, but you listen to us and you make sound decisions on our budgets. Your public safety. It's having a town manager who advocates for public safety and is not afraid to jump in with both feet in times of crisis. And Steve has been a fantastic leader when COVID-19 hit. I work a lot of hours. That man works a lot of hours. You're lucky to have him. And I'm sure I've missed a few in the town, but I'm not going to sit up here and take credit for having a safe town. This is all the town working together to ensure public safety. In closing, I just want to thank you for being good colleagues and being friends. But more importantly, I want to sincerely say that I appreciate the civility that this board and the budget committee have conducted themselves. A lot of communities struggle with civility in government. This town does not, and you should be proud of the way you handle yourself. There are no gotcha moments with, and that's appreciated by myself and the other department heads. I plan to stay in the Seacoast area. I plan to join the private sector. My cell phone is going to remain the same. I'm always open for a phone call. I'm not a big fan of long goodbyes. I've always hated long goodbyes. But the police chief position is an important position. And I wanted to ensure that Steve had plenty of time to do his due diligence and to transition in a way that would keep the morale at the police department high. I care about those officers deeply. I'm going to care about them 5 years from now. So I thank you for your time. It's been an honor to serve you. And take care of yourself, and everybody please stay safe. Thank you. Did you want to ask me any questions or anything? Here's your last chance. This is it. So, thank you very much.
Oxygen left.
And that is all I have tonight, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or comments for Steve or for Chief True? Councilor Dumont.
Yes, it's hard to follow, so I'm going to try to be brief. There was just one thing I wanted to touch on in the town manager's report. That was the Wildcat Transit canceling service to Newmarket. If you don't know, I worked for the. Can they not hear me?
Councilors, can you hear Councilor Dumont speak?
If you could just get a little closer to the mic.
Close to the mic.
A little closer. Sorry about that. So if you're not aware, I worked for Wildcat Transit for 5 years, both as a regular everyday bus driver and as a dispatcher. And I also was fortunate enough to sit with several committees in the University of New Hampshire when it comes to transportation services and needs for the surrounding community. And I know that there was some I don't want to say outcry, but there were some folks in town who felt like this was kind of a sudden nature or maybe not totally expected. But I did want to say for those folks that are concerned, these decisions aren't made lightly. And I'm not saying that as a current member of Wildcat Transit, just as somebody who understands the decisions that go into public policy and possible feedback that they're definitely going to be receiving for this loss of service. But I will say that if there are folks in town who still rely on that form of transportation or who do have serious concerns, I am sure both in town government as well as with Coast, with Wildcat Transit, who are going to be working to see how we can make sure that you can still get to where you need to get to, whether that's Durham, the Exeter area, Portsmouth. There are other services out there. And it doesn't really hurt to show that the ridership is there if they are looking for that desire. So I did want to put it out there because it happens. It happened when we cut back some service from when we cut the Rochester runs. And I understand that it affects each community a little bit differently, but I did want to just put that out there.
Thank you. Councilor Kuiper, did I see your?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly thank Chief True for his work and his service and say that I first met him, God, it was probably about 5 years ago when we started the Newmarket Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention. And he showed up like right at the beginning and said, you know, we can't arrest our way out of this problem. And he was really supportive the whole time. And I just, I never thought I would be on a first name basis with the Chief of Police. And I'm just glad to say that I have been, and I hope that you know, whoever takes his position can live up to his awesome reputation. Thanks.
Thank you. Echo that. So similar. I met Chief True through the Newmarket ASAP group when that started, and I was a new counselor and have appreciated, I think, your compassion. So that's all I got. Otherwise, it's gonna be ugly. But it's way too soon to say goodbye. So I'm just gonna say that far too soon. We'll keep you a little bit longer. So thank you for everything that you've done for our community. At some point, we're going to have a big party. I think we've had a few retirements, and we haven't really been able to effectively not say goodbye, but celebrate those contributions to our community. So maybe this summer we can do something still socially distanced and appropriate, but outside maybe, and have a celebration. So that said, we will move on. I'm not seeing any other requests to speak, so I'm going to move on to committee reports. Are there any committee reports?
Councilor Kuiper.
Oh, Councilor Kuiper. Oh.
Councilor Breivik.
The parking committee. Yeah, we good.
Yep.
The parking committee met, and we got a presentation from IPS Group about parking meters, which is the same company that presented to the whole town council, I think, sometime last year. And we had questions for him about, you know, how their parking system worked, and that was about it.
Thank you. Councilor Breivik.
The Riverfront Advisory Committee met in person, outdoors, at Chandler Park with DES to discuss the Living Shorelines project, and we're looking into writing a grant application in order to hire a consultant to kind of help us navigate the next steps of that project. Also working with UNH to identify some students and faculty that are interested in tackling the Riverwalk and bridge construction, potentially project.
Great, thank you. Counselor Sanders.
Just want to remind everybody that this weekend is the initial event for the Arts and Tourism Commission. The Main Street Art Walk will open on Friday the 9th and run for several weeks. There's no actual end date, but that's the big kickoff weekend. The 11 Main Street storefronts are joining us to display the works of 14 artists. And on Friday afternoon, there'll be balloons put in front of all the businesses and venues that are hosting our artists. So please, the weather's supposed to be great. Come on downtown Friday afternoon, all day Saturday. If you're gonna go to the race on Sunday, you can wander downtown at the same time. And please, if you can, share with everybody on Facebook the event. We'd like to see as many people as possible in the downtown this weekend.
Thank you so much. Counselor Dumont.
I did just want to mention that the Ordinance Oversight Committee met on the 22nd of March, and there is a resolution and the first reading tonight from us. I had sent to the town manager and the town council chair just a brief statement explaining why there's a resolution that came forward. It's not in the agenda tonight, but it will be there on the second reading. Time to vote, so you'll have the rationale behind it.
Great. And then I will also report the Energy and Environment Committee met last night, and we had two main orders of business, and the first was an RFP. So we submitted an RFP for a Solarize campaign, and we've had 2.5 respondents. So so really 2 respondents, and we'll be evaluating those replies at our next meeting. So we've started the evaluation process, and we'll be continuing that at the through the next meeting. And then the other item, the committee agreed on language to forward to the town council for a resolution committing the town to 100% reliance on renewable energy by 2030, and for electricity, and then for fuel by 2050. So that will be coming before the council, I think probably for our next meeting, I'm assuming, once it's submitted. And I am seeing no other requests to speak, so move on to our resolutions in the second reading. So we have 2 this evening, and the first, I'm just pulling it up, is Resolution 2020-2021-38, and it's the Tuckerwell Engineering Final Design. And I would accept a motion to approve that resolution.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-2021-38, Tuckerwell Final Design and Bidding.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the Director of Environmental Services to address this.
Thanks for having me tonight. The Tuckerwell project is part of the USDA rural development projects that the town voted on a couple years ago. We have completed the pilot study for the Tucker well because we had to do that as part of the new water treatment facility to remove arsenic. We have completed all the preliminary engineering. This is to move us into final engineering for the water line to get it to the treatment facility and to construct the building and install the pumps and get all the hydraulics correctly.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I am seeing none. This is a project that works for a long time, so
Yes.
it's exciting to see it move forward. If you could call the roll, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone,
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck,
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper,
Aye.
Counselor Conley,
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. And then the next is Resolution 2020-2021-39, and it's the dewatering improvements at the wastewater treatment facility, and I would accept a motion to approve that resolution.
I will make a motion to accept Resolution 2020-2021-39, dewatering improvements at the wastewater treatment facility.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Counselor Sanders. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah,
Yes.
this is not the most pleasant project for people to discuss.
I just want to say I was eating lunch the other day and reading this and had to stop.
But
Anybody
I-
wants to know what dewatering is?
But I will tell you, this is probably one of the most important things that we're gonna confront at the wastewater side. And the reason I say that is because if people don't know what this is, we treat 170 million gallons of wastewater a year, and we, as a byproduct, we have to waste, and it's a kind of a watery substance. We process about 40 million gallons of it a year, and we take it from about 0.5% solids to about 17 to 18% solids. And we want to get it as dry as we can because we don't want to pay for the disposal of water. And we send to the landfill about 750 tons a year of 17 to 18% solids. It's getting expensive to do this. The current rate is $108 a ton. The rates that I've seen come out in the last 2 years is about $140 a ton, and we're probably expecting them to go to about $160 a ton. It's also getting more and more difficult for places to take it. So a couple years ago, I started to look at things to try and get the solids drier. I found a unit that's a small unit, very easy to operate, and we ran a pilot in 2019. We have primary solids and secondary solids. We ran it on the primaries, mixed them with secondaries, and it did fairly well. We ran it for a week. It did a great job. We had some problems with it, so we re-ran another pilot in 2020. We did not run it on the primary because we found that the primary did very well. So we ran it straight secondary. That's the most difficult to process. With that, we ran it for 3 weeks, and all these numbers are based on a 2% improvement, so basically taken to a 20% solid. I feel that we're going to get to around 21, 22% solids. The 2% solid increase actually gives us a 8-year payback based on 8 to 10 years, depending on how much work we do. That will give us, but that's on $2,020. I've already got price increases on polymer and some other things that we actually use, so we'll get a faster payback. The other big thing is that we consume a lot of water on our current process to get it to 17, 18%. We actually use 387,000 gallons a year of our town drinking water, so that'll be a reduction. There's a reduction in electricity. There's a reduction in hauling, so there's a lot of benefits here. Another big benefit is right now we have about a 12-day storage time on our solids because we waste about 110,000 a week. If our press breaks down, that means we'll have 12 days. More likely, we will have less because the tanks have existing solids in them to fix that press. If we don't get that, we're in trouble. This will actually double our storage capacity. We'll change some piping so when we run primary sludge, it'll help reduce odors from the wastewater treatment facility. What I foresee in the future, what I've actually went and toured a facility 2 months ago, is that drying sludge, there's what's called as sludge dryers, and they'll take it to 90% dryness, which is actually puts it to a different classification, which actually allows you to do more things with it. I feel that's where it's going. But you want to get it as dry as you can before it goes in the dryer because it's very costly to dry it. You'll see Australia, you'll see Germany, they actually make pellets out of it and burn it. That's where this is all going. So this would actually be the first step of us getting to that. The equipment has a 20-year life. So if we get an 8-year payback on it, we're still 12 more years on that. And again, that's on $2,020. So as things get more costly, the payback gets much faster.
Questions? Counselor Dumont?
I really appreciate the specific nature that your job entails for projects like these, and I think that was most apparent in this most recent information packet that you sent us.
Yeah.
But I also want to how phenomenal it is, the us, because anytime I think I have questions, the answers are right there. The benefits, the cost reductions, just the life cycle is something I always ask when department heads come out. So I really appreciate the information that was presented in this, and it seems like we're doing some phenomenal things down there, and I really appreciate the fact that Chief True mentioned that you've been featured several times for the work that goes on down there, because I don't think people always realize just how important that treatment facility is and just how much your team does.
I have to recognize my people, because a lot of this work was done, and then we took it to the engineering firm afterwards to confirm it. So all the piping diagrams, I had a guy at my plant do it. We tracked all the numbers, we ran all the pilots, so that it was able to we put it all together so that it cost the town less for the engineer to confirm it. They were kind of shocked when we turned over the whole packet to them. So, which was good. I gotta applaud my guys for that.
I'm not seeing any other questions. I would imagine that there's an environmental, when we bring things to the landfill, that there's an improvement in that too, because it's.
This will reduce, this will reduce 2 to 4% is about 100 to 100 reduction to the landfill.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and not only that, that's the reduction of trucking on the road. So it really reduces. I actually have a statement that I actually have to give to Representative Pappas's group to try and help get some funding on this on Friday.
Oh, good.
So there's 268 projects, so I'm not expecting it, but I'm hoping that maybe it'll get something.
Great. Are there any other questions for Sean? No. I just have.
I did have a question.
Yes.
Trying to raise my hand and press the
Oh, sorry.
couldn't quite get it to work.
Please.
So I have one quick question about the payback. Did the 8 to 10 year payback for the implementation of the thickener, is that inclusive of the water and electricity kind of reduction, or is that 8 to 10 year payback, and then on top of that we're getting these additional benefits in the reduction of energy and water?
The energy is a reduction in energy, so it is a payback and that is included in the payback. The water is included on the payback because the sewer department does pay for that water, but it is also a benefit to the water side, because 387 gallons is about 12 single-family homes per year.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for speaking up. If I it's a little tiny, I'm looking like across the room, and it's this little tiny hand in the corner, so I didn't see it. I apologize.
Not a problem.
I guess I did want to point one thing out, and so I'm absolutely in favor of this resolution, but I just wanted to be clear that this is step one of a bigger project. So I mean, it's going to be a fairly significant expense.
Eventually, it could be us drying it, or it could be hauling it to someplace else that dries it. Yes.
But the project itself, there's like another $400,000.
Yes.
And
yes.
how will that come out of just the regular water and sewer? Will we bond that? Like, how do you anticipate us paying?
I'm looking to try and do that out to a combination of capital reserve funds and possibly leasing the equipment, so it's over a 7-year period payback. Also trying to get money from other locations. So working on that. So,
Great.
But the more we get done here, the easier it is to get all that out.
Great. Absolutely. Thank you. I am not seeing any other requests to speak. I'm going to double check and see if I see any little blue hands. So seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Aye.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Counselor Conley, I'm sorry, was that?
I think it's the old one.
Oh, that was the old one. Oh, was that the old one? Or did you have another comment? Counselor Conley?
I think that was the old one.
Oh, it just came through, so, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
So we have no nominations or appointments this evening. And we have a number of resolutions and ordinances this evening, so in the first reading. And the first is emergency ordinance number 6, 2020-2021. It's an ordinance reaffirming requiring the wearing of face coverings under certain conditions within the town of. This is the same ordinance that we have enacted a few times now. And I will read it. So the town of Newmarket ordains, one is the purpose. The purpose of this ordinance is to require the wearing of face coverings under certain conditions during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Newmarket Town Council has the authority to enact such an emergency ordinance in accordance with section 3.9 of the town charter and New Hampshire RSA 47:17, Roman numeral 15, and RSA 147:1. The ordinance: employees of all businesses shall wear a face covering over their mouth and nose when interacting with the public and whenever they are within 6 feet of a coworker or a customer. 2 members of the public entering any business, including without limitation any outdoor area where business of any sort is conducted, work site, or government building, must wear a face covering such as a fabric mask, scarf, or bandana over their nose and mouth. Policies regarding face coverings in governmental buildings within the geographical boundaries of the town of Newmarket adopted by the governmental entity having jurisdiction are hereby recognized by this ordinance and shall not be deemed to be contradictory to the requirements stated herein. 3 members of the public entering for the purpose of picking up food, for takeout, or any other purpose must wear a face covering over their mouth and nose. Members of the public dining indoors or outdoors at a restaurant may remove face covering while seated at their table. Members of the public must wear a mask when entering, using, or leaving the restroom of a restaurant. 4 members of the public utilizing sidewalks and other pedestrian public ways or public recreational lands or golf courses are strongly encouraged but not required to wear a face covering to the fullest extent practicable, and especially when there is a high likelihood of coming into contact with others and social distancing of at least 6 feet may not be possible. 5, as used herein, face covering means a covering made of cloth, fabric, or other soft or permeable material without holes that covers only the nose, mouth, and surrounding areas of the lower face. A face covering may be factory made or homemade and improvised from ordinary household material. 6, notwithstanding the above, this order does not require children under 5 years of age to wear a face covering. Parents should make their own judgment. Face covering is not recommended for children less than 2 years of age. 7, a face covering is also not required to be worn by any person if said person can show a medical professional has advised face covering may pose a risk to said person for health-related reasons. Section 3, penalties. Anyone who violates this ordinance may be subject to fines in the amount of $50 for the first offense, $100 for the second offense, and $500 for the third and subsequent offenses, and or may be summoned to the 10th District Court, Brentwood Division. And Section 4 takes effect in accordance with Section 3.9 of the Town Charter. This emergency ordinance shall be effective upon adoption and shall stand repealed as of the 61st day following the date on which it was adopted, but this shall not prevent reenactment of the ordinance by the Town Council in the manner specified in Section 3.9 of the Charter if the emergency still exists. First reading, April 7th, 2021, and because this is an emergency, we can act on it in the first reading. I don't need a motion.
You do need a motion to approve.
But not to suspend the rules.
No, just to approve.
So I would accept a motion to approve emergency ordinance number 6.
I move to approve emergency ordinance number 6, 2021, reaffirming wearing face coverings.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Counselor Dumont.
Was actually going to point out Counselor
Oh.
Blackstone, but it looks like he's back.
Okay. Great. Are there any questions or comments about the ordinance?
I did have a statement I wanted to make.
Counselor Dumont, please.
I have been voting against this every single time it has come up for a number of reasons. I still intend to vote against it tonight because philosophically I don't think my beliefs have changed on this matter. I did, however, want to point out that I had a probably 30 to 40 minute phone call a couple weeks back where a member of town, one of our citizens said that her friend had a negative interaction with police being called on her while at a business in Newmarket for not having a face covering. Obviously, I didn't go and investigate the police logs, but the individual who called me said that she was very concerned about the town's stance with the mask mandate and the possible sicking of police enforcement on people who didn't want to wear masks. So, again, I don't think that this is an appropriate ordinance to pass. I understand that I'm going to be outvoted, but I did want to share that.
Madam
Thank you.
Chair,
Please.
can follow up. Two things. One, to address that issue, what the incident was, police have issued 0 fines. They have, during this entire emergency ordinance, if there's been any issue with police involvement, it usually involves an individual not willing to leave the premises if somebody's not wearing their mask. They would not call somebody in unless that situation, and the police wouldn't respond unless that situation. They've also been doing it with kid gloves. It's more of they want to do it as an education, not as a heavy-handed, as you can see, with no ordinances being issued, or any fines being issued. So I just want to make sure that's out there for the public, that we're not out there busting down if you're not wearing a mask, unless there's somebody's disruptive or there's an issue there. So I just want to let that know.
May I speak to that? I will clarify, the individual who called me said her friend was not cited. It was the concern of being met by 2 individual police officers and 2 separate police cruisers sprung on her as she left the business. And that's where the concern was. I did strongly advocate that she reach out to the chief of police if she felt that either her or her friend was intentionally targeted or in any way that the law was being misappropriated. And I did inform her to actually call your office as well to lodge any complaints or concerns as well.
Okay.
But
And just second, just sort of procedurally, if for whatever lifts the state mask mandate, this would supersede that and stay in place in Newmarket only until such time as either the 61st day comes or the town council rescinds it. I just want to let the council be aware of that.
And for anyone who is unaware, we did adopt this ordinance prior to the governor issuing the statewide mandate. So we were proactive in that sense. Any other questions or comments? I am seeing none. So if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Dumont.
nay.
Counselor Sanders.
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone.
Aye.
Counselor Brayback.
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper.
Aye.
Counselor Conley.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1-0.
Thank you. The next item that we have is another ordinance, and it's ordinance number 7, 2020, 2021. And can I read this?
Title only.
Title only?
If there's no objection from the council.
Right, if there's no objection, I will read this entirely lengthy. So it's an ordinance amending Chapter 18 of the Code of the Town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, establishing licenses and permits for live shows and events. And that is available online for people to take a look at that. The next item that we have is Resolution 2020-2021-40, and it's purchase of a Ford Interceptor SUV for the police department to include costs associated with replacement and/or transferal of emergency lighting and equipment setup. Whereas the police department seeks to replace a current 2016 Ford Interceptor SUV with 125,899 miles with a new Ford Interceptor SUV of the state bid price of $39,375. And whereas the police department's request includes the costs associated with the transferal and/or replacement of police radios, emergency lighting, and equipment necessary for police services, as well as costs associated with lettering the vehicle. And whereas the police department capital reserve account for police cruisers currently has a balance of $161,115.19. And whereas the total cost for the vehicle and related include lettering is estimated not to exceed $51,647. Now therefore be it resolved that the Newmarket Town Council does hereby approve the withdrawal of funds not to exceed $51,647 from the Police Department Capital Reserve Account for the purpose of purchasing and equipping a new Ford Interceptor SUV for the town and to authorize the town manager to execute any associated agreements. First reading, April 7th. And we have another police cruiser. It's resolution 2020-2021-41, purchase of a Ford Expedition for the police department to include costs associated with replacement and or transferal of emergency lighting and equipment. Whereas the police department seeks to replace a current 2012 Ford Expedition with 57,515 miles with a new Ford Expedition at the state bid price of $40,560. And whereas the police department's request includes the costs associated with the transferal and or replacement of police radios, emergency lighting, and equipment necessary for services. And whereas the police department capital reserve account for police cruisers currently has a balance of $161,115.19. And whereas the total cost for the vehicle and related equipment is estimated not to exceed $50,110. Now therefore be it resolved that the Newmarket Town Council does hereby approve the withdrawal of funds not to exceed $50,110 from the Police Department Capital Reserve account for the purpose of purchasing and equipping a new Ford Explorer for the town and to authorize the town manager to execute any associated agreements. First reading, April 7th. It was a mouthful. The next item that we have is resolution 2020-2021, dash 42, and it's celebrating the 275th birthday of Wentworth Cheswell. I didn't know if I'm gonna offer Councilor Kuiper. I don't know if you maybe wanted to do the reading, or I'm happy to do it, but this is introduced by Councilor Kuiper, so.
Traditionally, the chair does read it.
You can read it.
Oh, do I?
You read it.
Okay, sorry. All right. Whereas, on April 11, 1746, Hopestill Cheswell and Catherine Keniston, a biracial couple, had a child named Wentworth Cheswell in Newmarket, New Hampshire. And whereas Hopestill earned enough money by building many of the prominent houses in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, to send Wentworth to Governor Dummer Academy, which allowed him to come back to Newmarket and serve as a schoolmaster. And whereas in 1768, 22-year-old Wentworth Cheswell won election as constable of the town of Newmarket, making him the first African-American elected to public office. And whereas Wentworth Cheswell also served the town as a selectman, assessor, justice of the peace, and auditor. And whereas, while serving as town messenger, Wentworth Cheswell on December 13, 1774, at the same time as Paul Revere, carried the news to the citizens of Portsmouth that 2 British warships were coming to take gunpowder and munitions from Fort William and Mary. And whereas Wentworth Cheswell died at age 70 of typhus on March 8, 1817, Now therefore be it resolved by Newmarket Town Council that the Town Council honors the legacy of Wentworth Cheswell and all of the contributions that he made to our town, state, and let it further be resolved by Newmarket Town Council that the Town Council encourages everyone to learn about these contributions in honor of Wentworth Cheswell on the 275th anniversary of his birth. First reading, April 7th, 2021. And at this point, I would accept a motion to suspend the rules so that we can vote on this evening because of the obvious timeliness of it. So I would accept a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules and adopt Resolution 2020-2021-42 this evening.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
So this would be a vote on suspending the rules, not on the resolution. And first, are there any questions about suspending the rules? Seeing none, if you call the roll, please.
Counselor Dumont?
Aye.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
So now I would accept a motion to approve Resolution 2020-2021-42, celebrating the 275th birthday of Wentworth Cheswell.
I'll make a motion to Resolution 2020/2021-42, celebrating the 275th birthday of Wentworth Cheswell.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Kuiper. Counselor Kuiper, I don't know if you wanted to speak to this resolution at all.
Sure. I want to just thank town manager for putting this together with me at such late notice. One of our state representatives had been working at the state level at getting Wentworth Cheswell's birthday, formally acknowledged by the legislature, but it won't be through the process until after the birthday, so that's why we kind of last minute wanted to stick this in. And thank you for suspending the rules, and I hope everyone gets a chance to learn a little bit more about Wentworth Cheswell. He's kind of lived an amazing life, and I will note he was involved in public office every year of his life except one, so if you're looking for some inspiration to get involved in a town committee, I think Wentworth Cheswell is a great role model for all of us. So thank you again for doing this.
And I just want to say thank you for bringing it forward, and thank you for your work on the Wentworth Cheswell Memorial. And I know that there was a presentation tonight that John Herman was doing through the library, and I think is there something else happening on the 11th, or that was just a social media sort of event.
John has got a couple things, and I don't know if they ended up working out. He was trying to get all the bells to ring at a bunch of churches, and I think he had coordinated that, but I'm sure if it's happening, you'll hear about it.
Right. So definitely pay attention. There are some options. You can hear about everything on social media through Facebook. There's a Facebook page. I know that the Newmarket Historical Society has been working on some things also, and so there's information available on their website and on the library's website too. So I am not seeing any other, I'm talking slowly just in case. Any other questions or any other requests to speak? So seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Dumont?
Aye.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I haven't had to do this in a very long time, but I always give the 30-minute warning if the time limit, and since it is now 9 o'clock, you have a 30-minute warning before you have to suspend the rules for the council meeting.
We spoke too soon.
I haven't done it in a long, long time.
Is there any correspondence to the town
There
council?
is none.
And then any closing comments? Counselor Kuiper.
I was gonna quickly say, happy birthday, Wentworth Cheswell.
Fantastic. So, you know,
I have a question.
Oh, please.
So my question is on establishing a live show. If we voted no on that, what would that mean?
I'm sorry?
For what? Counselor Blackstone?
Ordinance 2020-2021 amending the chapter 18, establishing live shows.
Counselor, pursuant to council rules, discussion and debate on ordinances will happen at the next meeting. So if you want to
Okay.
contact my office, I can answer those in the meantime, but usually any discussions on that would happen during the discussion period at the next meeting.
Does that answer your question?
I mean,
I
so contact with the question, I can get you that information, but it should be done procedurally during the meeting, during the time.
Okay.
So I'm not seeing any other requests to speak. So again, just get out there this weekend. It is going to be a beautiful weekend. I think I saw a 70-degree day out there. So I'm excited to check out all of the artists in all of our local businesses. And we will see everyone in 2 weeks, if not sooner. Thank you. Our meeting is adjourned.